Hello, everyone, and welcome to a special episode of the SWW Show. I'm Mike. Here with me, thank God, is not AJ. Instead, we have another special guest with us. Can you tell me your name and the game you are working on?
Hi, I'm Anton. I'm working on Shadows of Time. It's a top-down stealth game that will be released on Steam. And yeah.
Nice. So maybe best way to start probably is kind of like your background. So you do, my understanding is you do everything or near everything on this game?
I'm founding the game, and I do most of the thing on the game. I did hire a couple of people for stuff that I didn't know how to do. For example, on the main menu, I hired a freelance artist to do the drawing. For the voices, I hired someone, obviously. And but like most of all the development and the 3D is completely original.
So what is your background and stuff to give you those kind of skills to do the rest of it yourself?
I have a pretty strange developer background. So I studied in multimedia. So it was a bachelor degree. And so we did a lot of stuff. We did like video editing, audio composing, basic programming classes. We do a bunch, like everything that touches like new medias and stuff. After that, I was hired as a developer in a company called LVL Studio. So I was working on. They were mostly doing games and apps for clients. And after that, I worked 6 months in a company called Float4, which was a great company, but it was a very time-consuming job. It was interesting, like so they were doing installations, so it was a lot of like going abroad and to install the content and stuff. So I decided to stop and start my own project. So here we are.
Nice. So maybe to clarify too, because obviously I'm going to say it, you don't have an American accent, so you're not from America. It's probably good. The audience is probably caught on to by now.
Yeah. Actually, so right now I live in Montreal, but I was born in France, and I came here with my father when I was 15. So I've been living in Montreal for 10 years now.
So I've got to ask the question, because I will never hear the difference. Is there a difference between Canadian French and like French from speaking it?
Yeah, there is. How to describe it? French accent is a bit more rough, like sentence ends very like tack. French Canadian accent is a bit more singy, more I don't know who. It's more melodic. I don't know who. Yeah.
So kind of like how like when I think of like Canadians speaking English versus Americans speaking English, I think of Canadians do it in a more like I almost want to say like sense of like Americans are known for being very rude and Canadians are known for being very pleasant and nice. And I wonder if it's a very similar thing with like the French difference.
Yeah, it's a more cute accent. Like I would agree on that. After that, like Canadian could be rude if you pick them up.
Yeah, but we're just not
I've
going to tell them.
seen a couple of shows like when people go American show when people go on the street and try to piss Canadians, but and when people like just always act like nicely, but that's not like that's a cliche. I mean.
It's a cliche I'm going to stick with because I don't know enough Canadians to tell me otherwise. Every Canadian I've ever met, they're like, everything's great and wonderful and nice. And I'm like, oh this is interesting. Great. So the game is Shadows of Time. And you kind of described it earlier was a top-down, like, stealth action game.
Yeah.
So maybe where did you like? Obviously, I think the immediate inspiration I've at least noticed by playing and looking at the game is Mark of the Ninja. I was curious. Do you think that's fair?
That's an inspiration, and that's very funny. Like you found it because graphically it's very different, but actually Mark of the Ninja was one of my inspiration among other Gunpoint. Even though like the gameplay are very different, Gunpoint was also like an inspiration in making the game. So yeah.
See, that's funny to me that you think Mark Ninja is extremely different. Because to me, the way I look at it similarly is you've shifted the camera perspective, obviously, but mechanically, I could very much see where the pieces you liked from Mark of the Ninja and the pieces almost you didn't, and what you chose and didn't choose to keep in there. But it feels like you shifted the camera from obviously the side view to the top down. But others, I was like, oh, I could tell you at least really appreciate a good chunk of that game.
I agree and not agree at the same time. Since Mark of the Ninja is a 2D game, it's a side scroller, a game. You can't. Basically, there is only one way to go around the level. In Shadows of Time, there is like for each level there is at least 3 different way of like going through the level. Each one has its own like advantages and like flaws. So I mean, I think for example, when you at a certain point of the game, like you collect a stone of time. So at this point, you can basically freeze time around you, and so on some level, you can use it like to go through areas like where you couldn't go like before. So yeah.
See, so that to me is interesting because obviously the Shadows of Time name provokes this idea of time, at least in your head immediately, like either it's time manipulation or there's a timer on the board. So keeping in that, then how did you come up with like this idea of this very interesting mechanic? I think of controlling time, but then making sure it doesn't like break the game. Because obviously that's always the concern when you have someone give someone an unlimited tool like that, or in theory an unlimited tool.
It's actually a lot of testing. Like every features in Shadows of Time like takes at least 3 times the time you need to test it and code it, because like I have to take into account that the player will try to rewind or freeze time on any object, and so yeah, it's actually like increasing the workload to have this feature. Actually, in the editor, there is a section called unstable, and so basically it's features that are before you can like freeze time and rewind it, and so I I've put them like in it, so people like know if they mess around with it, it can crash at some point.
So that actually leads me to the obvious question I think there
Yeah.
is this idea of how do you test something like this to make sure you didn't all of a sudden leave a section open in the game that's like very breakable.
You try to break it. Basically, that's all. Testing the game is just like, you try to break your own game until it breaks, and once it breaks, you fix it, and you try to find another way to break it. So this is on the developer ends, and after that, you give it to people. So I have some lovely friends who were like so into the game and told me like, oh, when you have a key, like send it to us, like we're gonna test it for you and stuff. And so so those friends like tried the game and managed to break it a lot. and so I could like fix, retest, and at some point like you have a version that's mostly almost unbreakable. Like it's impossible to have an unbreakable game. Like if you watch even I don't know if you have ever watched like Mario speedruns.
Oh yeah, Mario
Like,
is a shockingly breakable game for how much people love it. You're like, oh, you could just pop
but
through
it's
anything.
actually it's actually pretty hard to break. Honestly, like when you see what I mean, like people even when it breaks, like the game is still running, and people like usually underestimate like how QA'd like Mario games are.
But like part of that too is they obviously have like an entire team of like here's a couple hundred people I could chuck it at. Where you're at really the gravity of probably a couple friends who are like, can you go play this? So that also leads me to, so the problem I think always with inviting your friends to be your testers are, friends are just too damn nice sometimes, and they're like,
My friends are also. The first thing they try to do is break the game. But I mean, it's I love them. The first thing they try to do is break the game, like just because it was fun to try it. But no. And I told them like it's okay if you break it, and so.
you're like, please break this game. See,
Yeah, exactly. And I would prefer the game breaking on my friends' hands that like won't be mad at me. That's the difference. Like someone who buys the game like will be mad at me, and he will be right if the game breaks because like he paid for it. My friends like they know like it's for improving the game, so they are they are pleased like to improve the game.
See, I have the other end of like the two nice friends where they're like, there was nothing wrong with it. And I'm like, I had a bugger running. I can see it crashed like 5 times. They go, oh, well, maybe it did a couple times. And you're like, this isn't helpful. So the one of the big features I think of your game, which really impressed me when I saw
Yeah,
it.
maybe one thing. My friends recorded it actually, so I asked them to record. It's a big part of testing because so I was always saying at some point what they did. It's easier. Like it's a good thing. Like when you don't have professional QA behind your game, is to ask people to record their game because it's not very natural to know like how to report a game, how to report a bug, like how often does it occurs and stuff. So it's actually a good point to say that it's important to ask people who test your game to at least record it, and so they don't have like to tell you how they manage like to break it.
Okay. So one of the big selling points, and I always found interesting in your game, for how as we've established how small your development team is that you let users have a map editor to create new levels.
Yeah.
So I was curious, was that always a thing that you thought from the beginning you wanted to do, or is that very much as this evolved, was that like feedback?
Actually, so first question, was it always there? Yes. There was always a level editor at the beginning that wasn't intended for user purposes. It was only a development tool, which was, like not a user thing. Like it was very ugly, and just to help the development. And actually, it's a very good decision that I did, like to make a specific editor to create the map, because on the development perspective, it's increases the speed of like creating levels and fixing issues very quickly. So, and people started to ask like, oh, is there gonna be a level editor inside the game? So, and it was actually like most people who saw the game like asked this first. Like it wasn't like, what is this the game about? Like, no, it's is there gonna be a level editor in the game? So actually, it's in January. So 4 months after starting developing the game, I started like making a user-friendly version of the editor. So with the the little thumbnail for each part, and making it like beautiful to watch, and yeah.
Nice. So have you? So I think we talked before. So you have some immediate things that, at least from the build I have over with there, that you want to fix on the level editor. What is there, do you think, based on feedback you've seen of people using the editor, that you feel like either done really well, or something that you are surprised maybe that less technical people don't know how to do?
So what didn't I do well? Actually, so basically, when you do when you do a level editor, you have two choices. Either you do a more user-friendly version that's not gonna that will never break the game. So, but to do that, you have to limit the player in doing stuff in your editor, or you choose to basically let the player do whatever he wants with it. And so this is the option I took, and I know like when on release there is gonna be a lot of way to break it, and I'm fine with it. Like it's not an issue for me, but I didn't want to limit the player in what he wants to do. Basically, everything that's done in the game, you can do it with the editor. So it's I choose this option. Which, so if you want to know like what I could have done better, is maybe making it a bit more more user friendly, but this would have come with the cost of like having less possibilities inside the editor. I don't know if it's answer your question or.
No, that makes sense. It's always, that
Okay.
is always the double-edged sword of what it's almost
Yeah.
like a sliding bar of, is it usable or is it useful? I think is always the question at hand.
And yeah, personally, I haven't figured out like a balance where like you have basically all the possibilities a developer could have, and and an unbreakable editor. So yeah.
So that's interesting. So I'm curious then, because so you originally made this as a tool for yourself then, so maybe this isn't true. Did it all of a sudden become a lot harder than you expected to, also making this a public-facing tool than an internal tool?
Uh, is it?
So like a lot harder to develop, because in my head, the moment you make a tool like this public-facing, now you have certain things you have to account for that maybe you're okay that, oh, I have to like, I know I can't drag in this section because it breaks it for me, but since I made the tool, I know that. Where if you're handing it off to the public, you can't have that weird breakable spot in the corner.
Actually, it's a good question. So is it hard? Yeah. To do? Yes. Actually, it's not very this hard. Like, it's not about, for example, making an AI is a hard thing, but it's not a very complex one. Like, usually AI codes are very small, and good AI codes that works are very small, and the code for the AI in the game, for example, is not this big actually, but it's not very big. The main problem with the editor is that it's a lot of small, simple tasks. Like, for example, making a help for the player, making tabs like to order them, like making small preview for the style, so it looks nice. Making so there's still there's still also there is a verification tool also that's run in background when you, because you have to play the map before you can, for example, export it on the workshop. So you have to code this, because like as a developer, you don't need to make something to verify that the map is playable. So it's a lot of feature to implement, and I think the difficulty is not from the complexity of of making it. It's about like the number of stuff you have to put in so it's user friendly for people.
Okay, that makes sense. So I'm gonna ask the question that's gonna be hard now that it's not fully out yet, but you're getting there. Do you think after going through this process, it was worth it, or do you think going through like the next time you make a game that you feel like there's something this complicated isn't worth it?
It's definitely worth it. Because anyway, this tool speeded a lot the development of the story. Like all, because when you do a developer tool, you're not always thinking about like, okay, making a nice thing and making it user friendly, but actually as a developer, even making something user friendly helped a lot on the story part of the game. So I think even though people like or don't like the editor, the content of the story and the amount of it wouldn't have been possible like without this tool actually.
Okay, great. Well,
So it was worth it, no matter what. Like,
nice. Well, I want to thank you for your time to talk about Shadows of Time. So to close it up, could you tell us where you can find the game, where you are in social media, all of that fun stuff?
Oh yeah, so you can find it on Steam, Shadows of Time. So it will be released on Tuesday, 17th of December. Social media. Basically, I have Twitter at GeekZebra. There's a Facebook page for the game, Shadows of Time. And all of that you can find it on the Steam page. So if you find the Steam page, there is a link on the right with all the social media stuff.
Great. Well, again, thank you for joining me for this fun discussion about the game.
Yeah,
And let's
no
hope you
problem,
see
pleasure.
great success and don't get
Yeah.
buried in the 1,000 indie games that will be released this week.
Yeah, I hope.
Right. Thanks again. This podcast was a product of the SWW Show. You can find more at the swwshow.com or facebook.com/the SWW store or twitter.com/SWW. You can find out more about Mike at Mikey_Maroney on Twitter and more about AJ at LoCivor on Twitter. Remember, new episodes come out twice a month, one focusing on the new entertainment news and one focusing on movie club, so new and an old movie. You can find out more again at the swwshow.com. You can find the show on podcast services around the globe.